Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the second edition of Sleetmakers 2018. This year's event is organized by Legal Design Summit, Legal Tech Lab, Legal Hackers Helsinki, and the Finnish Legal Tech Forum. I am absolutely amazed to see so many of you here. Honestly speaking, this was supposed to be around a 50 people event, and now, because of all of you, we are here at the small grand hall, almost a full house. So let's give a round of applause for you guys. As you most probably know by now, and hopefully, we're at the one and only Slush side event focused on legal innovation and legal technology. Tonight, we'll have a special chance to listen to talks and concrete case examples that highlight the changes in the legal industry. All that is out there beyond the hype. Later on tonight, after the break, we'll have a chance to listen to the legal change makers that will present and demo their digital solutions that amplify lawyers' productivity. Furthermore, some of the pitches will guide us to examples increase access to justice, so in other words, deepen people's understanding of their own rights, and provide greater visibility and transparency in legal matters. The event will also be live streamed, so if you wish to watch it again later, and if you don't wish to be in it, then you should maybe be asking the questions in public. I, myself, I'm a Maria Sorsimo, and I'm part of the organizing crew. And on the behalf of the whole crew, I would really want to wish you a pleasant evening. Without further ado, I would also like to encourage you to challenge the startups. After their pitches at the alley, let's please make a lively discussion and actually bring on table what are the potential gains and pitfalls of legal tech. We would really appreciate your own insights on the discussion. But without further ado, let me introduce a person who will open this event. So Beata Mäihäniemi, a postdoctoral researcher in law and digitalization at the University of Helsinki. Beata is an affiliate researcher at the Legal Tech Lab and has been involved in a project on automated public decision-making. Welcome, Beata.
Thank you, Maria, and welcome everybody. So we have noticed that law is changing as a result of digitalization, and we need to start discussing the challenges that it brings. And I've been thinking that actually, who is we? So we, as a legal tech lab, is only one side, one kind of participant in this conversation. Then we have academics from other disciplines, we have students that we try to involve in our services, we have tech professionals, and we have lawyers. And this event gives us a chance to discuss and cooperate on practical legal solutions. So at the Legal Tech Lab, which is actually this kind of Faculty of Law's own startup, we do a lot of experimenting with legal technology, but also in-depth academic research. So what we do, we analyze and look at different kinds of legal problems with the use of legal tech, and look at digitalization of legal practice that is already happening, and you're a part of it. So we raise awareness about the possibilities that seem to be endless, but also we provide critical insights of what technology can do and should it do everything. Basically, we have joined Sleetmakers to take part in this dialogue on disruption of the legal industry. And as you know, there are hundreds of legal startups, but this is a great place to be seen and show your results. So our mission at the lab is basically that we want to bring something new to the field. So would it be a new way of looking at legal services, new tools to facilitate participation, or a new forward-looking mindset. And I hope that all of the startups are taking part here also having similar goals. So basically, we believe that automation brought by digitalization can create new jobs and bring added value to the economy as it improves work efficiency. So basically, we have noticed that thanks to the digitalization, then lawyers can focus on instead of like doing very automatic works. Lawyers, for example, can focus on developing other skills, such as, for example, skills that are connected to empathy. But also, many startups are actually helping these end users to get the help they need. So basically, we have noticed that there are many obstacles to taking this kind of legal services into account. And on the part of legal companies, it maybe is also that their lawyers are hourly billed. So they do not have incentives to make things more efficient and faster. So basically, what we can see, there are different phases of accommodating the technology, the legal startups. So first, we could say that we're in total denial that, no, we don't need any startups because we don't need any new services because things will stay the same, but they will not stay the same. They will not stay the same because the change is already here, and we have a number of companies that provide legal services to the market. We have a number of third parties who can actually handle the work done usually by lawyers earlier on, and they can now provide it in a cheaper way. So this is where the legal startups come to place. So I think now we have this kind of third phase of disruption where basically the technological innovations are so important that they're actually replacing some of the lawyers' duties, but also assisting them to focus on, for example, keeping on relationships with their customer and focusing on their customers' needs and making especially the life of end users much easier. So if we need some legal help, we can first look whether we actually need it and what has to be done. So we think at the Legal Tech Lab that this dialogue is very important, and the change in legal profession that is brought by digitalization is so significant that traditional ways of dealing it do not suffice. And Sleetmakers is not a traditional way. It's an innovative way of dealing with new challenges. So welcome.
It is good to continue from here. Thank you, Beata. Now I have the honor to invite on stage Dr. Tuomas Pöysti, the Chancellor of Justice of Finland, the supreme guardian of law in Finland. Dr. Pöysti has a title of docent in administrative law and approximately 50 scientific publications on information law and legal informatics, discussing, among other things, information security, digitalization, and ethics of public on legal services, artificial intelligence, and trust. Tonight, he will talk about the role of legal technology in promoting the rule of law in the society of tomorrow and how different types of actors can contribute to it. Thank you. So, welcome.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here. It's particularly happy because this brings some nostalgia. I was 1996 as a postgraduate from the law faculty. I was lucky enough to get a grant to travel, and I traveled to London, and then this book, The Future of Law, was hot topic. Luckily, they had this kind of a paperback edition for the pure postgraduate students with the name who made himself famous of it. Also, his presentation was famous because in the English legal field of that time, using PowerPoint was considered very innovative, and it was extremely innovative because he had also provided some animation into it. So now the happiness comes from the point that we see so many people not only interested but actively on this field here in Helsinki, and my intention tonight is to provide some points of view on the future role of the legal tech, and particularly concern the private and public sectors around it. This is also tied partly to my remit in my office, which extends to attorneys at law, advocates in as it Finnish, and public legal aid attorneys and licensed attorneys, and their professional conduct, and from the fact that by the Constitution I should reflect upon that the rule of law and democracy function well in Finland, and everybody has an equal and wide possibilities for participation and access to justice. If you think about the legal tech and a short historical reflection, history of the humankind is the story of progress with using tools. And the law and the practice of law is no exception of this, evolution of using tools. And now the stage today of this progress is partnership between humans and intelligent machines, powered by different kind of digital technology, not the least the artificial intelligence, but there are also other smart technologies. And the practice of the law is no exception and shall not be exception. And if we look back on this kind of nostalgic memories, we see that some of these kind of promises we were talking at the end of 80s, early 90s about automation of the legal reasoning, automation of the legal practice, that starts to be realized also if you look on this kind of project, what many of these startups have in these presentations available, for example, in this occasion. The other side of this is also the hard practical reality. I had a look over the weekend on the American Bar Association's report on the use of the digital technology in the American law firms, and it's very diversified. There are many big firms who are doing wonderful things, which made me feel to be a representative of the Stone Age. On the other hand, most of the American practices are solo or small practices which are struggling with simple office equipment, and even to have a kind of a semi-intelligent reminder of your case deadlines would already be an advantage. So we have a rather conservative and also diverse field. So why the legal tech is a necessary part of the future law is for the following five reasons. The better law drafting and the better quality of legislation is the first thing. There are many things what the machines do better than humans, and there is an interesting to have a look on what this cognitive scientist Daniel Kahneman said. He said that people are noisy, people are lazy, and that have some serious consequences. In fact, the machines are better in reading huge quantities of text. Machines are better in detection of patterns. Machines are better of finding this kind of always the same time in a similar situation observations compared to human eyes, particularly tired human eyes. So there are quite a few individual tasks, and I mean this kind of isolated individual tasks what the machines couldn't do better. So now, in fact, if we think about the law drafting, for example, in the government, so that there are law drafters who compare whether, for example, these provisions on the appeal correspond to what is on this administrative judicial code or judicial code by comparing two text documents, or if they retrieve through normal office equipment and web browser this kind of practice from the Constitutional Law Committee. That's a very archaic way of doing the work which could be done better by the machines. The same concerns the application of the law in the law firms, and the more advanced law firms do not only use this kind of office and case management solutions, but also legal research, e-discovery, and also contract drafting. This contract drafting is one of the things which can be facilitated tremendously by by intelligent solutions. And if we think about the situation in Europe, where we need to compare European Union law, human rights law coming from the European Court of Human Rights, Council of Europe, so we have also a situation where such kind of capacities would be rather helpful. The third point is reduction of costs. So not only better law drafting and better application of the law, but it's a reduction of costs. So law is currently very costly. There was recently an article which is true that many of the people don't have any access to civil dispute because this kind of threshold what no ordinary insurance is cover is and the average trial costs well exceed that. So there is a huge latent legal market which cannot be satisfied at the moment through innovative ways of thinking, access to justice. And inside the law firms, if we do the humans on this less efficient way, this manual and redundant work and mundane routine tasks, so the consequences is that there is a waste of resources. Already in the current status of the technology, the calculation is, there are two reports which I took on the basis global comparison. There is McKinsey, which is more conservative, 23%, and Deloitte, who argues for 39% of the tasks which could be replaced by fully automatic processes in a typical law firm having several attorneys working over there. And we are not yet even talking about innovative market. It's simply like on this on how we do. But then if we move onwards and we look what's going to happen, so the legal tech can provide also better legal protection and protection of particular rights in a digital environment. Two simple examples. So increasingly we are using this kind of virtual assistants into comparison, etc. And very soon we will deploy like artificial intelligent agents to make our purchasing decisions. And so then the question is that if, for example, a consumer protection is not tied to this kind of intelligent machine, but it's done only through this kind of paper and filing method in a kind of processes which are taken from this kind of manual world, it's not a good protection. The same applies to privacy. So digital privacy and this kind of smart privacy enhancing techniques are definitely the future. And the final point is that the rule of law has been rather dependent on the state actors, which is a problem when there are weak states or constrained budgets, or we have transnational transactions where no single state has authority. So the legal tech with self-enforcement capacity, self-enforcing contracts, etc., can provide more private autonomy, which to a certain extent is a good thing, but it's also to a certain extent a problematic thing for the democracy point of view. So there are 5 good theoretical reasons why to do it and worth it. And so the benefits are there. And there are plenty of them, and this is also relating to kind of current day lifestyle, where also the access to the justice is one of the kind of basic cognitive needs of individuals. But there are some particular difficulties which also relate to the role of the public and private sector. So if you look onto the market, so it's pretty developed in the United States and in the English-speaking language area to the extent I know. The other these kind of big countries might be also of interest. I don't know the situation in Japan, and China is a particular case. But concerning the Finland, we have a small language area and we have a small legal market, which means that this kind of a research and development for private sector initiatives is limited, and the companies and the startups need to very quickly go outside, which is a good thing. But then it's for the legal services markets, it makes us there is also less room over here. And there is, and this is one of my messages here, is that there is an underinvestment also on the public side on the innovative solutions. Finnish justice system was one of the front runners of the digitalization and this kind of e-justice systems in the past, but now there have been several years that we have been a bit stagnated, and now we are still a little bit stuck on these big projects on document repositories, the AIPA and HAIPA, which for some of you are familiar. But beyond that, we have the good possibilities to move forward. So what is then the role of the private and public sector here? First observation is that they shall not be looked in isolation, but rather as a collaboration. So future of law and legal services emerges from the public and private sector collaborative development. The role of the public sector first is that, given the specificities of the Finnish and the Scandinavian context in general of the rather small markets, is first of all the enabler. So the legislation should enable use of these modern technical solutions. Then the state has also important role as a regulator of the legal profession and legal markets, and there, for example, we could think that we could also be more open with this kind of technical skills, like the American Bar Association. That's this sufficient mastery and utilization of the technology is part of the professional ethics and requirement of anybody practicing the field of law. We could also think about a similar kind here. And then this financing possibility, even this kind of most competitive market like the US, the government research funding and the government investment has been, and the government as a purchasing power is an important factor, and this is something we should consider particularly here. The states shall organize the judicial branch with its applications. There is a lot to do in the judicial branch and also in the government. The government, I recently recommended that for the law drafting we should launch an artificial intelligence application system, and so kind of pre-study has been commenced, so hopefully it will lead to something which is not too big on the same time. Then there is the public sector has a role of the promulgator of the law, which meaning communication about the content of the law. It's not simply like this kind of passive service like Finlex, but it could be much more like proactive, and this is a role of the public sector as well. Public sector can lobby towards the big international companies and international organizations. We have a specific relationship with the European Union, so the European Union would be a front runner also on the legal tech. And we also have the data, so data in a machine-readable format. That's to guarantee that access is an important part of the public sector. And finally, if we think about the most innovative legal tech solutions, the flip side of them is that there are big network effects on the using of the masses, so they tend to be in the hands of a few big companies. So there is a serious competition issue here, which could be modified by the fact that public sector could provide its neutral platforms to which also smaller companies could attach to. The private sector, that is the driver for legal services and legal solutions market. And when I say that, so this is much more diverse than we in fact know. There are many of this kind of latent legal field which could be done through this kind of software-based services and applications and combinations of them. And I don't believe in the future of this kind of law firm in its current format. This kind of big business law practices, they have somewhat taken their path, but also this kind of small family practice oriented law firms, they need to find also their future, which is also networking and much more digital than they are today. So this is really open for new thinking, and that is essentially the private sector's role. As well as research together with the universities and different kind of development communities, including this kind of innovative solutions for particular rights like privacy cards, consumer protection, etc. So there is plenty of potential what we could do, and we should really do it, and we should really also address this underinvestment problem in Finland, because if we don't do it, the Finnish law will degenerate into the spoken tale of the Stone Age, and we will not be in the front runners of the society based on the rule of law, and then we will be less happy as a society. Thank you.
Do we have any questions for Dr. Pusti? There's a good chance to ask something. Well, I see none at the moment. But, well, let's give a round of applause for Dr. Posty. So another reminder, a disco. Another reminder, you can get involved in discussion by using hashtag Sleetmakers. So if you have Twitter or Instagram, LinkedIn, whatever, social media is a great way to get involved. Before we move on, let me ask you something. How many of you guys are practicing lawyers? Yeah, great. Well, how many of you work in a company that has a legal department or deal with legal matters? Yeah, almost everyone. Well, have you ever thought of ways to make your work life easier through tech? Yeah, pretty many. I think everyone. And I've heard of those people saying that, yeah, well, I got into legal tech because I'm lazy. It makes my life easier. Well, yeah. Now we can hear something from the legal tech in action side, because next up we'll have a fireside chat. Unfortunately, due to safety reasons, we will not have the fireside itself. But anyway, in which Heikki Ilvesalo from Ilves Solutions, Juha Taipale from Eversheds Sutherland, Finland, will share their insights from a local legal tech cooperation. Ilves has launched its search and insight engine platform called Ilves Haku in 2017, which brings data and content from multiple different sources into one place. Ilves Haku, as a pilot, Eversheds was able to develop an in-house search solution in collaboration with Ilves in a way to meet their own goals. So this discussion will be moderated by Anna Ronkainen, of the Finnish Legal Tech Forum, and she's also the founder of Sleetmakers. So let's welcome Heikki, Juha, and Anna.
I'll just start. So many familiar faces. I'm here in the role of a buyer, and I'll try to be more difficult than I probably am because of the various roles that I played in this sort of tech field. But I think what we're trying to do here today is illustrate how does the buying process go. I mean, how to really do the deal to get the legal tech into a corporation. So the title here is Eversheds Attorneys Meets Ilves Haku. First, the background that really is important here. We are part of Eversheds Sutherland, and that sets a very interesting basis for our work because we have we're part of that global practice, and we do have the global development of AI and all the legal tech things, and we very much want to be part of it because that gives us a very good scale, especially in the English language. Obviously, they're not worrying about Finnish there. But at the same time, we're not yet part of the ICT infrastructure. It has its good side and bad sides. Obviously, that gives me a lot more flexibility. I can do things the way I want, but the future is obviously different. So now I still have a chance to influence how we do things. It also gives us a lot of issues because we have the accumulated history of not so digital world, and has its benefits, has its downside. It's very difficult to convert. It's difficult to make use of. So why Ilves Haku? Time is money. And we need the tools. We have a lot of data and underutilized data. Not only it is an issue, but there's a lot of potential. I mean, most of the people know the history of Eversheds Sutherland. We do have a lot of Finnish legal practice behind us, a lot of Finnish language documentation, a lot of English language documentation. And we do make a use of it, but as typically for lawyers, most of the use that you can make of is whatever you know that is there. And the rest of the time you shout out in the corridors that does anybody know anything about this, or does anybody have anything here, or has anybody ever done this kind of a deal before? And we actually do have tools for this, but we didn't have a corporate solution, and we did have not anything that would help us from the corporate side, so we had to figure out something. I knew, for an odd reason, Ilves Solutions. I knew Lasse, who's the key developer who's back there. I knew his golf handicap because we sat on the opposite sides of the table, but I had sort of a little bit of knowledge that these guys know what they're doing. And I ran into these guys in connection with this Ilveshaku project, and I knew that there was a need for this. I had used my own tools. I've been an indexer for 20 years, but we didn't have anything to use corporate-wide. So we were offered this, and I kind of became, if not the evangelist, at least the sort of inside man, because I said, you know, this is going to bridge us to the future solutions. It actually resolves one of the key problems that you have when you don't have a uniform way of handling data, and more, because it kind of enables us to do the searches in all data material in a uniform way. It basically resolves the problem of not being yet to move into a global data system that would give us all those tools, probably integrated to something bigger. So we have all the sources integrated, and that really gives a lot of benefit. And especially I can say that that works not only for the historical data, but I think for email. We've had our archiving solutions, but as you well know, if you don't have a very rigid corporate-wide system for storing emails, it's really much like dependent on the human behavior, which usually means lack of discipline. And therefore, you cannot really credibly say that you can find everything. Here you can, because it actually digs into your Exchange folders wherever you have your rights. So it's one search. It's an easy UI. This is where we really, really appreciated Ilves's work, because they came in really on a spirit of a pilot. Obviously, I trusted them, we trusted them, and then they trusted us that if they can show what they can do, we'll do the deal. So they really did a lot of work with us into doing something that works really for us in the UI side.
What is this UI?
User interface. So basically the way we approach it, what we see there when we open it. Not every lawyer is very technologically savvy or intuitively operating in a coded environment where, I mean, we don't really look at the programming interfaces. We want something that is easy to use. That's what we see in a good solution in our mobile phones. You know, we look at it, we know what to do. And I think this is the same that we try to achieve here, that people who don't know what the indexing is, they can look at it and they can recognize where they need to put their tags and where they need to search and what they need to do with the search, how to modify it, how to sort, how to limit the search. Because again, the problem often with searches is that you get too many answers. Everybody knows that that's the problem. I mean, you don't know anything about the 20,000 documents that meet your criteria, but you need to be able to go down and really find what you're looking for, and this is where we can get help from the UI. So what we have been able to achieve, I think, obviously we're in the middle of it, but I think the level of implementation has been pretty high. I'm surprised, but there was a need for this. It does save time every day, it improves the quality of work, and it really does encourage the knowledge sharing. Actually, it does open up things because you can very quickly see what others are doing. And this really is a beneficial thing. And the user reception has been really beneficial and positive. And I think I'm counting on the development further. I mean, Lasse hasn't heard all the wishes. I just sent him a couple of things yesterday. What more sources we'd like to be indexed and how they should work. Because again, the tool is really now done for us, for our purposes, but there will be future needs. And what I'd like to see here is for as long as we need this kind of a solution, it will always meet the scope requirements that we might have. Fire is not here, but we'll still continue on this one. I mean, at this point, just to understand so that we don't need to go on the fire side on how does this, you know, what does this do for us? Any questions on this point? Well, put it this way. I need to find an agreement that is done in some country that has some title. Has anybody done a shareholders agreement in Ireland? That's a bad example. I don't know. But I mean, if there was, and I would put their search criteria, Ireland shareholders agreement, and I would put there some limitation, eliminating some options that I would know that shouldn't exist in a shareholder agreement in Ireland. And then it will give you all the, it's basically word-based, obviously, word textual-based. It'll find, it's not an AI yet. It doesn't make it a contextual AI comparison, but it is simply word-based. But Lasse can explain on the demo there, it has certain abilities, obviously, to eliminate certain, text randomness things, and you can use asterisks and stuff like that. That's where the user comes to play. You need to know a little bit about searching not to put the words in a way that kind of doesn't lead you to the right solution. But if it does that and you don't limit anything, it'll look any source of information to which you have access in your environment. And if anything hits it, it'll give you in the order that you want, and it'll give you the preview of it, it'll give you some text. It'll actually give, which is nice by the way, it'll give the versions of that document if there are. So you can get a lot of information very quickly. It's fully indexed, so it's fast. Although we have, I don't know, you may know, Lasse, how much we have. I don't know how much we have data, but I mean, if you think about 20 years of history or more, there's a lot of it. So it'll give you the documents that meet the criteria. Then obviously you can limit the search to only your email or only to your emails over the last 6 months, or just even yesterday, because it'll be online indexed all the time. So rather than going to your Outlook, you can actually do it faster there, because it'll actually indexes the attachments as well. So even if it's in an email attachment, that specific word, it'll find that email and that document.
Let's stick to the program.
That's right. I mean, that's exactly the point. What I'm trying to say here is that sometimes the high tech is the low tech. I mean, sometimes to go digital, you have to bridge the low end gaps as well. I mean, we can't be fully digital before we find the stuff that we have.
So let's start from the beginning of this big law firm meets startup story. So how did you find Ilveshaku? Was it Heikki in always be closing mode, or were you actually looking for something like this before?
If I recall right, they did approach us first. Yeah, they did approach us first with this idea.
And for full disclosure, should be said that Heikki has been on the other side of the table, so procuring IT for some other big Finnish law firm for quite a while. So was that any helpful for you, or all big law firm organizational cultures so different that you have different hurdles in everyone?
I think it was useful, and of course I joined the firm only 7 months ago, and the project has already started. So, but of course I tried to help in the project, and being on the other side so many years, I hope it was useful.
Yeah, I think it was definitely. I mean, as I said, and that's one of my points for the startups who pitch for bigger firms. You really have to find the right channel in, and I think there were a lot of connections, as I was saying to Heikki, the fact that I knew the company and I had seen their work, and I there was a credibility immediately on that one. So, and I also at this point was a person who in some degree, I understood what they were trying to achieve. So I became the champion. I wasn't the buyer even, I was like the champion inside the firm who said that, yes, this is a solution that will benefit us, and I think this is a good idea. And I was the one who then sort of was the inside man in that sense, driving it in the firm. I think, and you can probably agree, Heikki, that to approach a firm just simply on a sales pitch without having any kind of connection or understanding on the buyer side, it'll be a very difficult sell.
Yeah, I agree. It would be, exactly.
So let's talk timelines. Lawyers love timelines, right? So how long did it take? What was the sales cycle? So how long did it take from first contact to signing something, and then from there to an actual deployment and
very long.
trial deployment?
Very long. Very long.
That's how things usually work in this
Very
industry. So
absolutely very long, and that's the other thing. It is a very cautious industry, this legal practice industry. It really takes time to get things started. It takes a lot of patience, and I think also credit to Ilves. I think they also took obviously we relied on them. We invested a lot of time. We invested a lot of effort and meetings in configuring this tool and how would it work for us. But also they took a very much of a pilot mode where the commitments were made at the very last end. So it was like, show us what you got, and then we might actually make the deal. And it took a long time. I don't even know. It was months from the beginning.
Why people like numbers? So.
I like to think that it took like 5 months to deploy it from the actual start in April, and we rolled it out in September. early September.
Well, that's right.
So.
I may be counting the rollout as well. Obviously, it was first the plan, the first pilots, and I think in the fall we then rolled it out to everybody's use. Yes, there were 2 phases on that. Yes, you're absolutely right.
So how was the internal sales processes at Evershed? So how much an effort did it take to actually get all the stakeholders on board to want to do this?
Well, I think as I was explaining, we do have a lot of projects going on, a lot of plans for the future, a lot of things coming from top down. So there was an understanding on certain issues that we need to resolve, and since those were not happening, I think there was an appreciation that this might resolve one part of the problem. But I think, as I say again, it is really that you have to get certain group of people to be behind it. And you have to have your internal champions who take some responsibility on it, because it takes our time, and you need to get the people committed inside the firm or inside the buyer to actually work with you to get it done. But I would say that it was, once the picture was clear, I think our sort of deal making wasn't that complex. And I have to say that credit to all, we didn't really draft a lot of legal documentation around it. It was really much based on handshakes and trust at this point.
So how many internal champions are we talking about, and how many people did it take to make the decision?
4 people who are committed to that this is, they're defending it, that this is the right thing to do. And ultimately then, and you have to appreciate that in a law firm, although everybody understands the digital world and everybody understands the process needs, there are people who will watch for the money, people who will watch for the technology, and some people who don't care about either one of those. So, and ultimately you don't know who's the ultimate decision maker. So it is a complex thing to get those decisions done. The bigger the firm, the more difficult it is.
So Heikki, how did the rollout process look like from your end?
I think it was really optimal from our perspective because of the engagement and the team. The test team represented all fields of the organizations, all parts of the organization. It took time, but afterwards I think it was really good to have that time to also for us to develop those functions and features you needed. And I think it was good, really good process, and we were happy to be able to roll out it so that we were present in your recreation day and were able to see everyone and meet everyone also. And I think it's a good way to roll out a new system.
And I think, as this event shows, we were never trying to do this as a captive sort of a one-firm solution. I think it was openly, we continue we want this to be a successful product because then it makes it easier for us as well to ask for more things. So we're not, none of this is captively ours. None of these solutions or ideas or UI ideas, they're all available because I believe that these are not the tools that we compete with. This may not fit everybody. Not everybody has the same needs, but I think for the ones who need it, it is a great solution to resolve a problem. That is a real-life problem that brings in immediate benefits.
So what was the business goal with all this? Because obviously there's the great spook of hourly billing behind all this. So basically, if what you're selling is hours of work, if you invest in technology, basically in order to make your work more efficient, basically you're spending money in order to earn less money. So obviously the kind of short-term benefits of legal tech in law firms are often difficult to see. So whereas of course in the longer run, those that make those kinds of investments are the ones who survive. So how was it at your end, and did you have a big hourly billing fight? Or
well, this is true because it is hard to calculate as a direct monetary benefit, except that when you use it and you calculate the time that you spend during the day in trying to locate something, especially when you start a project and you try to find the right people who've done these things, or your, let's say, accumulated experience, and let's be honest, even finding what you've done. Like, I remember maybe it was 2006, I think I did something that was sort of these lines, and then you think, where is it? Or somebody else is doing the same. So I think just the fact that we can shorten the time gaps of getting from the idea or search to the information, you can think of percentages, but everybody can imagine how many minutes per day you spend on finding information. And if you have a quick way of doing it, that cuts out gaps. And I think it also brings in the ability to, as I said, before it was like dependent on who was around to answer your shouts or your emails when you were desperately looking for something. Because as and again openly said, we have a lot of accumulated data, but we're not at the stage as, for instance, our London office where things are very much modeled out and where the processes are very fixed. We don't have that for all the things. So if you need something more exotic, you definitely need to look for that from your peers and from your own sources. So we can absolutely make money. We can absolutely shorten our time cycles by being able to find more and quicker.
Yeah, and of course, if you have any documents that might be used as evidence or something like that, then of course being able to find the right document or not being able to find it can decide a case. So of course the level of service will be improved. Any of those kinds of really...
Well, there are. I mean, again, we do have the AI tools that we can make use of in bigger cases, but I personally have used this very much in like smaller DD processes where you can put the data somewhere and you can pretty much focus the index on that data. So if you need to find whether there's some same party or whatever appears in these documents across that limited data set, just the fact that you've indexed it gives you the ability to target that data set and then verify that where is this customer appearing, for instance. You can really create those things in a smaller scale. I mean, obviously a full-blown AIDD for zillions of documents worldwide is another thing where you might need some more sophisticated tools. But I think, again, there are so many smaller things that you can achieve where the benefits are immediate and you don't need the huge investments or huge organizational changes or changes in your work processes. And that's where I think this was a very well-fitting product.
Yeah, so let's talk a bit more about the rollout project process. So how much customization, how much like specific requirements did you, for instance, have, or was it like my way or the highway, the one size fits all model? Just upload your data and you're good to go, or? No,
I think we were lucky because we were the pilots. So I think we were able to affect everything. So I think I don't think that. We pretty much got everything that we wanted. And I think, well, we are very generic users in that sense that I think it's very generally applicable. And I think the fact that what we probably were able to bring to Ilveshaku was this sort of the way the lawyers look at the data. I mean, we're not coders and we're not engineers, we're lawyers. So I'm sure that Lasse had difficulties understanding how we did it and why. But basically, we were able to create something that looks familiar and kind of, as I said, directs you to the right direction. So the way we have it running now, I think, is easy for even a new user within our organization to take into use because it really mirrors the way we have looked at things before. So we had a lot of wishes, and they were all done. But I don't think that we had a lot of really, really high-end specific things that wouldn't be generally applicable. I think it was like a joint product development almost.
This button should be blue.
Nah, we didn't have anything that this was replacing, so we were doing a generic thing. And I don't know, I haven't asked, are you using exactly the same thing, so you scrapped all the stupid things and just...
Yeah, exactly, Heikki. So how did it look at your end? Were they a difficult customer, an easy one, or the best?
The best client ever. We had really good meetings, and I was busy writing everything down because there were so many ideas flying, and then we went back to the office and look at what is going to be a feature, what is going to be a plugin, and that's how it went. And I think it was a really good process, and I hope to have more sessions like that. Those meetings we had.
Yeah, I think this was actually a very good point. I think once we got it to the pilot level, and that was like really for the champions to push. I think that when the users came into picture, that's where you guys were really like, everybody had a lot of ideas what this could do and how it should work. But that was a very good process. You stayed with it and you met those things. So, and also I have to say that that's how it works. That once you plan it, you need those champions. Nobody's interested. But when you put it on their table and it serves a purpose, everybody wants everything. Yes. So that's what it shows, that there was a need for this. So the process was definitely twofold, before and after the pilot.
Yes.
Yeah, so do you have a process in place for the feature requests or feedback or that kind of stuff? So do you just send emails every now and then or have meetings, or do people just bite the bullet and complain to their colleagues why it's not working the way it should be, if applicable?
We have both processes. You are sending messages to us, and we need this, and then we have some meetings.
I'm already going crazy. I want this, you know. It's like, I don't care.
Yeah. So was kind of to both of you is dealing with a startup compared to an established legal tech vendor, one that has been around at least since the steam engines. Is there any difference?
I mean, now that I'm here, and this is like a startup thing, I think this was a startup product. I have to say that these guys had a little bit of advantage, that the Ilves is a credible player, and I knew that they can meet these unreasonable demands and time schedules, and they were not going to run out of money or that they wouldn't be around. So that is unfortunately a little bit of benefit to them, which cannot be put on everybody who's just trying to get the first sale. And it's not trying to be like discouraging, but you just have to note that it will take time. And I think it was a very good point that was made out there, that Finnish market is so small and there are so few players that really the time to market is very, very, very difficult. But again, here I think the product was definitely a startup product, but I suppose we're here because a lot of these criteria were met.
So how much were you buying the dream versus buying what actually was there already? Or buying like a development roadmap?
And again, I think what I'd like to say here is that we had an issue, we had a problem, everybody recognized it, and we were able to get a solution to that problem. It was very concrete. So it was not like trying to get something fancy here. I think this was a very good start for us. It really bridged the gap in functionality that we had in our processes. And so I think that's what every startup should look. You know, when they look at the client, they should really try to resolve a problem. I mean, if you just sell the dream, there's a big step from the reality to the dream. So to try to resolve a problem first, then you might get to the dream later. So try to find the soft areas where you can bring in the benefit relatively, and that's how you can show your credibility. As I said, you know, I have also been, you know, wondering. I don't know enough of the technology, but when you think about the fact that now we have a pretty good handle on all the data, you can only imagine what we could do if we could plug in a lot of other stuff that we could do to analyze that data. So I'm sure that we'll be presenting a lot of interesting questions.
Yeah. So how did you meet the goals that you had for this product, or did you make any kind of break new ground or something like that? So did you actually with the things you had in mind when you started this, how's the process going there?
Probably I should. I don't know if we have made really. Have we done sort of a user reviews yet in any way? I know that the implementation level is relatively high.
Yes.
And whoever uses it has been happy, but I don't know, do we have 100% coverage yet? I don't think so yet. So we still have to sort of remind people that this can be done.
Actually, what are your KPIs in regarding this key performance indicators? Do you have any?
As I said, I don't even know if we had a written agreement, did we?
We didn't have, yeah. But we.
There's a great level of trust here.
Yeah.
What do you track at your end?
We track users, active users at the moment, of course, and
we should probably do a user satisfaction survey.
Yeah. Net Promoter Score, anything like that. Personally, I think those are awfully annoying, but yeah. So any lessons learned from this?
Heikki, what do you think?
Either end.
I think the key is to focus on only a couple of things. Probably it would be best to focus on one thing, but not more than 3 things. And engaging people in the project. And it might take some time, but the results are better if you engage people and take some time. And I'm also impressed on how you have continue the development with us. I think that's really nice.
Yeah, and I think from our side, I think it's actually a good reminder here that users are always the issue. I think you can have wonderful tools, and actually we have a lot of tools available that typically users just don't make use of. And I think this is the same example here. Probably a lot of people already use it, but we should continuously make sure that they can use it in the best possible way.
Yes.
Because very often you find one way of using a tool and you never explore the others. And I think this is a classic example here. probably even myself, I'm just doing whatever I have done in the past, but we should always revisit what can be done and educate the users to make most of it. So I think that's a good reminder here. Yeah. Let's not get stuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. We have 2 minutes and 13 seconds for questions. So anybody have a burning question? Of course, you can also talk to Heikki and
we'll be around
at the break. But any questions?
There's one question.
So are all emails automatically archived and indexed? And if so, how is client privacy protected? And how is attorney-client privilege preserved?
It is actually working in such a way. Obviously, I don't see anybody else's emails. The point is here that I can access anything that is accessible me by the Microsoft's domain control. So I mean, if I have it's indexing everything, but my access is limited by whatever the AD actually defines. So if we have, for instance, like insider files, or we have, obviously I don't see anybody else's emails, but I can direct it to my own emails, which is the nice thing, because it kind of removes the necessity for you to archive and organize your emails, because they're already indexed at all times, and also the attachments. So definitely it's not like somebody can just put an email search to everybody's email. No, that's not the way it works. So the access is controlled everywhere. This is just searching to whatever I have access to. Sorry? That we don't have it. We don't have it implemented, but Lasse is nodding there. I mean, obviously, Ilves has a lot of already implemented. I mean, pretty much anything that you can access, it can search, whether it's a third party or a website or anything. I mean, we have focused on this side, but I mean, the basic tool, if I understand it correctly, if you have it in like your limited use, you can pretty much specify the data sources that it indexes.
Yeah, the Slack is supported. We have a connector for Slack and many other applications.
Time for one last question.
So actually, to just to give a little bit of promotion to these guys who have thrown themselves in front of us, I think that's the best part of it. That it is a flexible, customizable, and easy, quick solution to a problem that we all do in some degree have, unless we have a very strictly formalized file management system with all these tools implemented. Not all of us do.
Thank you to both of you. Thank you for coming, and thank you for your valuable insights.
Thank you so much.
So thank you for sharing your insights. Hopefully people got some takeaways from this discussion. Now it is time for a break. So you will have a good half an hour to chat with each other, with the startups at the alley, and challenge them, ask them questions, and please let them show you what they've got. Also, there are some vitamin well bottles so you guys to be energized, and we have a really tight schedule, so please be on time at 6:30. There's a girl who will be ringing a bell, so you know the time when it's time to come back for the pitching. So thank you.
Everybody, please be seated. The show is about to start.
So welcome back. Works. So welcome back. Hopefully you had a good time to chat with each other and with the startups. Now it is time for the pitching. A few days back, I was thinking, so how should I introduce all these great companies? And then I realized that we should let them speak from themselves. So isn't the beauty of pitching to give them a crazy short time and to make a great first impression? So precisely, welcome on stage.
Thank you. This is a bit scary. It feels like I'm back in school as a law school dropout. I did 4.5 years, but I started my own law firm actually in the third semester, which was strange, but that's what I did. Since I started companies before, it made sense. After a while, we grew into 10, 20 people, and I was very frustrated as a tech nerd that kind of turned into a lawyer. I am very prone to remove inefficiencies and try to automate stuff all the time, like time registry. I didn't want my junior lawyers to do that, so I tried to make sure that that was done by itself. And in the end, the thing that I spent most of my time on was, how do I make sure that drafting can be done by anyone that doesn't have legal expertise necessarily and do it very quickly, because we spent a lot of time on it. Our customers spend time on erasing stuff that we did for them or write their own legalese, and I represented them in disputes in order to handle it. So that's kind of the basis of why we started Precisely in 2014. 2 years later, I retired as a business lawyer and took over the helm. It has been stated that traditional contracting is broken. Why is that? One of the things that we've looked at a lot at Precisely is what different areas are affecting bad contracting. And IACCM has done a report that says that 9.2% of the bottom line profits of a company are affected by poor contracting. Another study showed that 55% of contracts are made from the wrong template. Since there's a lot of lawyers in the audience, I guess you recognize this. And 88% find their own company's contracts too difficult or even impossible to understand. And this is something that, of course, is increasingly dealt with through the legal design movement as such. And on average, 10% of all contracts within companies have simply disappeared. They might be in a drawer of somebody that left the company a year ago, or they might be in a trash bin or in another country or stuck in the mail somewhere. They're usually scattered throughout the organization. And looking at this picture, this is, it looks very messy, and it's, but that's probably not very far from what it looks like in a company with, maybe not a startup with one employee, but a larger company with a lot of different stakeholders. There's a lot of different activities that are being done. There's, the process, it's hard to keep these processes in place without utilizing digital tools. At Precisely, we have built an AI-powered end-to-end contract automation platform in order to solve some of these issues. And one of the things that we do spend a lot of time on, and has done since the inception basically of the idea, is spending time with other lawyers, with legal counsels, with business users, and looking at, some might have great analog practices or processes in place, for example, for rule-based approvals or something, which means that, okay, if it's beneath 1 million kroners, I won't look at it. There's a lot of those things out there. And what we try to do, or what we try to incorporate all the time, is to incorporate, good analog practices into our digital platform. And our platform can solve the most complex contracting issues and allow anyone from any background to automatically create, sign, and manage compliant contract. And drafting, for example, an NDA or even more complex contracts can be done in a matter of minutes. And what we're doing now is combining the power of contract data. For me, as an ex-lawyer and kind of tech geek, for me, my main focus is contracts as data, or how can I structure that data in order to enable something for our customers in the future. And that would be something that would be similar to business intelligence in general, but in this case, contract business intelligence. You heard the previous speaker talk about it in the fireside chat as well, the power of actually having that structured data. We now serve more than 200 companies worldwide, some of them actually here in Finland. And yeah, I'll just skip these. I was thinking that I speak for 2 minutes, but yeah, thank you.
So any questions? Privacy and May. So any questions? No. There, okay.
Yeah, just interested if you could tell us a little bit more about how you are working at structuring the contract data.
Yeah, sure. There are different levels of it. One of it is, of course, our customers that are utilizing the platform for drafting on a daily basis. They keep their life cycle digital, and all the metadata is connected to the answers in drafting the contract, which means that the data from when they start using Precisely, that's more of a given, that the metadata is structured. But then we have the legacy data and the legacy contracts, and the way that we structure that metadata is through core NLP and machine learning. And of course, it's not fully automatic, but we provide process support for our customers in order to structure their old data. But the new data is structured through the way the templates are created, where every choice is an isolated part of metadata.
So any other questions? No, thank you, Precisely. So next.
Sorry for the long one.
So let's give him a round of applause. So next up we have Privacy Ant.
What if I told you that the vast majority of companies are breaking the GDPR and not being able to protect your privacy? Well, my name is Pekka Lampelto, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Privacy Ant. And we are building a privacy management compliance platform for companies. But back to this statement, we are fully GDPR compliant. Is that so? Well, the reality is that it's not often true what companies claim. And I explain why. Those statements that you probably have been seeing in the past 6 months are either misleading or even plain lies. The vast majority of companies are still breaking the law. We know this because some of our co-founders have actually worked on companies that have run the biggest privacy programs in some of the biggest companies in Finland. And what my colleague actually learned from his experience is that looking through hundreds of suppliers and their contracts, it's not even nearly compliant what we have today. But how is this? In what way do not companies comply with the GDPR? Well, they're breaking the law because they have false assumptions about the processing of personal data. And if we look at what companies think they are doing with personal data, they only understand what they are doing with personal data.
Maybe it's about marketing. Yeah, we do marketing, we do advertising, we do analytics. But it is too often based on just assumptions. The real complexity, if we go drill down to the reality, is that how the personal data is being processed. There's the magic of privacy, if you want to do it right. As you see in the data flow map, personal data flows into tens or even hundreds of places to many companies across different countries. And if you're having false assumptions, you're basically, companies are not telling the truth to themselves, to their customers, to their business partners, and even the authorities. What you see in privacy notices of companies, it's not based on the actual truth. There should be much more integrity when it comes to protecting people's privacy. So companies are actually being ticking time bombs, and they're not being even aware of how much they're not being compliant. And the CEOs of the companies, the board, the employees, the legal teams, they are unaware what's happening in their companies when it comes to people's personal data. But here's the solution, Privacy Ant. We have been building a platform for companies to actually describe how the personal data flows across the companies to other companies, and to actually then being able to identify the real legal requirements for any processing activity the company is doing. It is about the how, not just the what. Once your employees and departments have described all the processing activities in a process level, then you will get integrity to your privacy management. There are many solutions on the market that are concentrated on the what the company does with personal data. But our platform helps your departments and employees in your company to describe step by step how you are processing personal data. And our long-term vision is not just privacy, it is also other legal requirements and data security, for example. And our business model is quite simple. We are a SaaS company. So we offer companies 1, 2, or 3 year subscriptions. And we're already serving more than 100 companies in banking, media, gaming, and many other industries so far. So our mission is to help companies do privacy with integrity. Thank you.
Thank you. So are there any questions? Privacy enthusiasts? There. Would you like the mic? Just.
So you've got, I absolutely love the way you're presenting the information visually. That looks really cool. The question is, does the whole interface work like that? Or does it, I mean, is everything in your system visual like that and presented in that smart way?
Yes.
Right?
It is.
Obvious question,
based on data flow maps and visualizing the data flows. That's the way when actually the employees start to get concrete understanding and grip what they are actually doing in the various departments, whether it's HR, marketing, sales, IT development, whatever where the personal data flows are actually taking place. That's their work, to actually describe the data flows, and then you have all the data that you need to actually run those compliance assessments, and then to demonstrate your compliance to the authorities or to the management. You get actual real reality-based assessments what your company is doing. Then you're no longer a ticking time bomb.
So do your competitors, like if you look at the big systems like OneTrust and all that, they don't? Are you the only ones who do this visual mapping of data flows?
I don't even know all the vendors out there who are doing privacy management, but we were among the first ones to start with data flow maps, and we knew this is the concrete way. Probably others are coming behind us, but we have been putting 3 years into this method of doing privacy.
Thank you. So let's give him a round of applause. So next up we have Someturva.
So good evening, everyone. My name is Suvi Uski, and I'm co-founder and CEO of Someturva company. I'm here to tell you only 4 minutes, 4 slides tactic, so come and ask later, or we have a stand in the hallway. I have my background in social media research, and I am very much aware how much joy and opportunity social media has brought to humankind. However, I've also have had to witness the downside of social media. Anyone's reputation can be ruined in seconds. Kids, young, adults, even those people who are outside of any platform. A year and a half ago, we launched our company. We had one idea in mind. We want to bring access to justice to everyone. And what we did was that we thought that, hey, this is something that nobody has ever done, but now we have the technology, we have the understanding and the competence in our team, and we can do this together. At first we thought it might be impossible, but today we are here witnessing that it actually might be possible. What we are doing is a digital lawyer that can replace an army of lawyers. With our service, anyone can have easy access to legal help. We provide our users with legal help, but also spiced up with very practical advice how to handle your specific situation. Do you need to set your Instagram account private? How to delete those comments that insult you? How to stop cybercrime towards you? With Someturva service, we can actually replace a significant amount of police's and prosecutors' work. We are creating massive impact on this society. In Someturva, we have 3 founders. Let's see. Lost the connect. Let's go without slides. We have 3 founders, yes. We have Jenny here today, but also we have a team of 10 experts at our office. In our team's core, we have psycholegal expertise, meaning that psycholegal in a good way, not psycholegal in the traditional way, but with this kind of mixture of social, psychological, and legal expertise together. Meaning that when we give legal help to people, we can also offer empathy. We can guide people to behave better, to learn the solution to their conflict. We have raised so far 1.6 million euros, and we have been very lucky to have the former president of Finland, Tarja Halonen, in our advisory board. This year, we have had plenty of progress. We have started collaboration with Supercell. We have just about to open up an online chat on our platform that is powered by Save the Children Finland. You know, the people who reach us the youngest ones are 8-year-olds, and the oldest ones are 68-year-olds. So we need to have all kinds of help on our platform. Today, here, I want you to know that we are looking for funding more. But in addition to that, we're also looking for support, professional support and practical support. We want this access to justice to be something that is offered globally to everyone. And this room is full of people who can help us do that. So please join us, come talk to us, link us, tell your friend about us. We need you. Thank you.
Thank you. So do we have any questions? The Finnish aren't that talkative. But anyway, thank you for your presentation, and let's welcome up Sönk.
All right. Hello, everyone. And we're really happy to be here today. My name is Josephine. I'm here with my colleagues Magnus and Sergey, and a few more here in the audience as well. We are a Nordic law firm. We started 4 years ago, and now we're about 80 people working at our offices in Stockholm, Oslo, and Copenhagen. We also have a representation office in Silicon Valley. We're focusing a lot on innovation and tech companies, and this is where the most of our clients are also. Furthermore, the reason that we're here up here today is that we are, as far as we know, the only Nordic law firm registered under the Bar Association that have done our own in-house AI legal tool, which we're going to talk a little bit more about here.
Yes. It's our privacy policy check. So we have developed, or Sergey has developed this tool, totally in-house. So it's a deep learning AI tool that helps you to check if your privacy policy are, what is it doing? Checking if your privacy policy is compliant regarding GDPR. And it's very simple. The only thing you do is you find, for instance, Twitter have a very long privacy policy. You just copy the text. I will try to do this live, hope this works. Analyze it, by just paste it, and then start. And this looks nice, doesn't it? Not like a law firm. It's try to be something else. And then we can see that, they have addressed 7 out of 7 mandatory criteria regarding GDPR. And they have 6 of 10 conditional criteria. And we can also see it was in English, yes. And then you can see what have they addressed. The mandatory criteria, the conditional criteria, and then they have missed 4 of them. But that's because they are not obliged to do this, because they don't have legitimate interest as legal ground. So that's why it's mandatory. No, not mandatory, well, it's conditional. So we have developed this. And as we have offices in Sweden and Denmark and Norway, we also would like to, of course, cover more languages than English. So from last week, it is also possible to check Swedish, Norwegian, and Danish privacy policies. We can check if Mannheimer Swartling is. Let's see if they are good enough. Let's check. What do you think? Hopefully. 100%. Yes, they are really good. So let's check. It's Swedish, and it's yeah, they are good. And this is also showing how effective the digitalization is, because if we're checking now the usage of this, remember that we are a really small law firm, and today it has been used in 46 countries, almost 1,500 times. It's just, I think it's 45 countries, because you consider Åland is as part of Finland, but not the computer. So it's 45 countries. So we are really proud of this tool, and also even more proud that we actually got funded from the Swedish Innovation Agency a couple of weeks ago, amongst others here. We got some 2 million Swedish crowns to develop this further, to be able to check if the DPAs are also compliant to the GDPR. So we'll continue to build on this AI tool. And yeah, that's it. Any questions?
Yes?
We have offices in 3 Nordic countries, and maybe we will, yeah. And then Finnish will be in the next language. It's a little bit more difficult for us to... The problem is always with AI, to train it, to find the material. To build it is 25% of the time, 75% is to train it.
But the reason we started with the English language also is that most of the privacy policies are in English.
Yes.
But of course we want to cover more languages.
And when you decided to put resources into this, were you thinking of it as a lead generation tool?
First of all, to learn how to use AI, try to learn how to do it and use our developers. But we are actually, as far as we know, the only law firms under the Swedish Bar Association that are hired developers. So our owners are really putting money into this. So, yeah.
Lawyers developers.
Yeah, lawyers developers. You are also a lawyer. Yeah. No. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anna is really watching the time. But yeah, so next up we have Sesio Software. So the technicalities, well, yeah. So, great.
Hello, my name is Thomas Westerholm. I'm an architect, and here's also our CTO, Antti Hämäläinen. He has a long background in banking and telco industry. Our application, OneTract, is about making video contracts. Now the question is that in mid-90s, a lot of us got our first mobile phones, but very few were waiting for SMS text messages. It's very typical for a lot of applications that people don't expect them, but when they come, they will use them. So we already did a lot of work, and we are now moving to the next stage. The reason for the name is a bit similar like video blog, which goes blog. We truly believe that the coming generations who are born with the mobile phone as an extension of their hands are going to use video as a major tool to communicate. And not only to communicate, but also to agree about things. It just simply is more fluent than typing, for example. Here's an example of a contract. Oops. Sorry, this is not video, this is PDF. You will see it later. So practically, background in construction industry, what happens on the ground level is a lot of verbal promises. And to capture the verbal promise can make a huge difference in the efficiency. One contract can be the offer negotiation, it can be the actual deal, it can be the guide for another person to execute what was agreed, and finally it's also a tool to verify that the process was followed right. There's also something happening with the telco industry. They have been working jointly as more than 100 companies together to create the future standard of the telephone infrastructure. That opens up a huge possibility for this type of application. In Finland, the estimated market for this type of communication is only 10 million euros, but globally, the market for business communication is a lot, and then this type of application could extend to private users as well. We already have an agreement with Tilavastu, who is the organization who is trying to help the construction industry be a bit more legal operation. They monitor the responsibilities, and they have created a digital signature platform where we will add this video component. Current application, which we are demonstrating, is a solo user version, but we already proved before that we can create the contract making between two distant devices as well. So users can be in different locations while they create the contract. Tomorrow starts the Slush. That's where we try to go to the market now. Thank you.
Any questions? Nada? Okay, well then next up we have Original Mai. So welcome on stage.
Hello, everyone. It is a pleasure to be here. My name is Jay, and like many of you guys, I'm a lawyer. So I've pretty much come to terms with the fact that I'm going to have to deal with a lot of bureaucracy for the rest of my life, which is why I'm so excited to present to you our company, Original Mai. So a bit about us. We were founded in Brazil back in 2015. So we've been around for a while. And our main goal is to reduce bureaucracy and make processes easier so that people can have a better access to services and to justice. The first thing that we did, we were concerned about intellectual property rights. So basically, we were registering stuff on the blockchain because with the timestamp, you could create a very strong evidence that you had created something at a certain point in time. So that was the first thing that we did. This thing about registering stuff developed, and we closed a partnership with a notary in Brazil. And now Brazilians don't have to go to the notary anymore to authenticate documents. They can do it through the platform, which saves a lot of time and a lot of money. And with time, some clients started to ask us if they could also sign contracts using the platform. And what we realized was that in order to do that, we would need to prove their identities, right? So we set out to create a blockchain verified identity. And from there, a lot of really, really cool things started to happen, like even beyond just signing contracts. This is some data about identity. So what I want to focus on today is actually showing you some of the use cases that we've had, because what we see with blockchain companies, they get a bit of a bad rep because they don't deliver much. But for example, in Brazil, the constitution brings this possibility for direct democracy, that if 1% of the voters signs a project of law, Congress must vote it. The problem is that 1% of voters in Brazil now is almost 2 million people. So in the 4 times that Brazilians have tried to exercise this constitutional right, they couldn't validate the signatures afterwards, so it didn't work. So we made a partnership back in 2016 with this app called Mudamos, and now it actually works. Brazilians actually get to exercise their right. You can also use it for voting. So back in October, the first blockchain-based election in Brazil was conducted through our platform. The Brazilian Association of Fintechs elected their new board using our features. You can also authenticate yourself in platforms. For example, there's an exchange called Foxbit. There's even a nightclub in São Paulo that you can get access there using blockchain. So basically, what we do, because I know that this sounds like a lot, we are using blockchain to provide 3 main services. We offer the proof of authenticity for your documents. We facilitate the access to notary services, and we use identity as a key to unlock several services, from contract signature to voting and so on. These are some of our clients. Some collaborations, they are mostly with banks and with notaries. We've been at the Google campus, like their programmed twice. We've also done a few other things. This is our team. We're an awesome team. I know that this is a lot of information. It's a bit of a short time. But we have a lot of interesting use cases, so if you want to come talk to me afterwards, I'll be super happy about that. That's it.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for Original Mate?
Good evening, Panu Pökkilä from Nordea. So how do you identify the person when you provide the identification? How do you do that? How do you make sure that that person is actually that person?
So the way that we do the verified identity is we have the platform. The person submits their documents to the platform, like personal documents. We have a system that analyzes the documents. If they are okay, they pass. If the system thinks it's not okay, a human goes and evaluates that. Then, of course, we delete everything because we're not going to store that kind of data. But this is pretty much how we do it. Because in Brazil, we don't have the same thing, for example, with the bank ID that you have here in Finland. Oh, and just one thing. The company is from Brazil, but we moved to Estonia now, so we're doing business here. Forgot to mention that.
So next up, we will have Deal Sign.
All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Tero Valkea, one of the co-founders of DealSign. DealSign is an online contracting and negotiation service in the cloud. I think all of you have done a lot of contracts, like all of us, and it's a really painful process. You waste a lot of time finding the right template. You have long versions. You send those back and forth. You waste a lot of time meetings, calls, chasing right documents, chasing people for signatures. It's a really painful process until the signing. Then you're happy when you got the signature, but then you lose the document and no one has access to the archived document. It's really a problematic process, and organizations waste a lot of time. So we have a solution that it's built into the cloud, and we provide online negotiation and contracting in one place. So we provide the service from the template management, online negotiations, signature, archiving, all in one place, and you can even integrate the service to other services like CRM or e-invoicing or other services. There are a couple of highlights from our service that especially lawyers like, and they can build optional clauses for the business users, and business users can be more self-service during those contracts. In-house legal saves a lot of time. The other feature and a service we are very proud of is our online negotiation service, where all contracting parties can collaborate at the same time with your own team, with your external lawyers, consultants, or other persons, or with the other contract party. You can work at the same time with the same contract, save a lot of time. And you can see on the left side, you can see the clause-by-clause status. That is up to date all the time, real time. On the right-hand side, you see full audit trail, saving a lot of time and working smarter. Our clients use this for different kind of purposes, for sales, for procurement, or in-house legal supports their business. Various kind of contracts can be done, so we don't limit this to any function. Time saving is the biggest benefit. Of course, working smarter, using data, analytics, AI coming. It's really difficult to build AI before the signing for the negotiation because it's so much contextual driven. It's a little bit easier for the archiving, but that's coming, and we are also ready for that with our data-driven solution. There are a few law firm partners and clients from Finland, Nordics, and Central and Eastern Europe. It's the Slush time of the year, so we also collaborate with Slush, providing DealSign for startups together with our partners Lexia and Sync. And let's meet. Come and talk to us after the session here at the lobby or at Belge. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Deal Sign? No. So next up we have Turre Legal. Welcome on stage.
Hello. My name is Herkko Hietanen, and we are trying to solve the copyright problem online. We're living in a visual world where a lot of communication happens using photos. And where do we get photos? Where do a regular person get their photos? Well, according to our research, you go online, you search for the photos, you grab it, you use it. Just Google it. Google is filled with photos that you are allowed to use. For example, in this case, there's a Creative Commons labeled photo of a microcar crash, mopoauto. It's actually owned by, the copyrights are owned by one of our clients, and turns out that not everybody can follow the licensing terms that Creative Commons requires. So you have to tell who the photographer is, and in this case it was Santeri Viinamäki. So this happened a month ago, and it happens all over online. So if a insurance company had an accident, yes, insurance companies do have accidents too. So they took the photo of one of our clients, put it on their press release, and it started spreading online to press in Sweden to over 20 different publications. So, what do you do as a photographer? You try to contact the press, you try to contact the insurance company. So we created a solution so you can contact us. We created a web form where the photographer can report their infringing use that they've met. It takes them less than a minute, and the photo lawyer service does the rest. We archive the infringement, so if there is a need to go to a trial, we have evidence. It automates creating cease and desist letters based on the information we received from the photographers. We enforce only professional use. We hate copyright trolls. We also educate infringers, so there are legal options available. We try to make the experience as pleasant to infringers as well. We create settlement agreements based on the information as well. We also provide a place where they can pay the settlement fee easily online. So we take care of the whole chain after the user has found the infringing use. We have also sued some of the infringers and settled before the matter has gone to trial. We have a payment system online which has actually collected a lot of money to our top clients, 65,000 euros last year alone to our top photographer. Too bad we don't have that many clients today. So that's why we're actually seeking to make this even easier for photographers. We're automating the process so the photographers can take their portfolio, drop it into our service, and the system will look for infringing use. This is where we need money. Currently, we have developed this in-house in our law firm, and we're looking to spin it off. And we're looking for smart money who understand photographer business and or a tech partner to help us to realize our next step of automated enforcement. My name is Erkko Hietanen, and we are trying to solve the copyright problem online. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have?
Oh, the service is alive, so you can go and check it out. So if somebody has infringed your photos, go and report it. We'll get you money.
I'll ask Donna to come upstairs, but also, are there any questions? There.
Hello, back row.
So just a very quick question. My name is Deepak. I lead a startup as well. I click this hall from my position right now, and 2 minutes later, he clicks it. Yeah, we are almost at the same position. So we are going to get exactly the same pictures. So who's the owner between two of us? And this would happen actually left, right, and center.
Yeah, well, you would have to prove that images would be slightly different. So you would have to prove that it was your photos.
So they would be exactly same.
Matching that would be rather simple.
In a hall where you've got people looking at me, they might differ, but a car is going to be like it is. So it's not going to start looking left and right. So it would be exactly the same picture. Yep. So probably we can be your tech partner. Okay.
So
just make an app. Every time, just a friendly suggestion, make an app such that the photographs are taken from that app. And every time a picture is taken, you are indexing it with time and GPS coordinates. That's it. The job is done.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
So let's give another round of applause. So our final speaker will be from Donna.
Hi guys, my name is Rick. I am the co-founder of Donna. And before I start, how many of you guys are lawyers? Wow, awesome. And how many of you guys are actively involved in drafting contracts? Perfect, I've got the right audience. So, of you guys, who has ever seen something like this, right? You've gone through negotiations and you've written an amount of money, and through negotiations you forgot to change it. Who's seen this? Oh yeah, okay. Fairly common. And who has ever seen this? You refer to, oh, well, she'll define this in this clause, and then, new clauses get inserted, and you weren't quite using cross-references, and then, oh, I see you laughing. She recognizes it. Who has seen this? Yeah, also very common. And who has seen this? You had the parties in the beginning of the contract, between Acme LLC and Cool Inc., and then somewhere later in the contract, this mysterious partner comes in. I snuck in PTI Ltd. Who has ever seen this? Of course. We all have. It's very common. So we build tools to help lawyers with these kinds of problems. And I'm going to give you a very short demo because I'm very aware that I'm the last speaker and I'm what's standing between you and a drink and karaoke. So we'll keep it short. There we go. Can we all see? Is it big enough? Take that as a yes. So yeah, it's an add-in for Microsoft Word. I'm assuming most of you guys still use it. We can add it right from there. It adds a little button into Word, and I can press that to open up what is Donna. Let me just quickly sign in here. I had to steal somebody else's computer because last minute we realized, it never connects. That's still the hardest thing about legal tech is connecting to the projector, right? There we go. Okay, and now we see two things, review and suggestions. So what we're trying to do is, Donna will both look at the contract and look for these sorts of mistakes that I showed before, but Donna also tries to help you with your daily task. There's so many things that we think we can help you be more effective in. So let's have a look. Review, we see we have defined terms, dates, and money. How many of you have had, a really long agreement, and then towards proofreading it, the end, you're referring to this term, and you're like, I can't quite remember the meaning of it, but also I can't be bothered to look it up again? Exactly. So what we have is you can go for defined terms, and you have a list of all the defined terms in the contract. And as you're reading, you can look for, okay, what did I define agreement as? And you get a little snippet. You can also jump straight to where it was defined. And by clicking on an agreement, you can also see everywhere where you've used this term. Now, we've seen this behavior, this kind of jumping back and forth in the document so many times, and this really speeds it up 100,000 times. So it's not necessarily that Donna takes over your job, but it helps you be more effective in your writing and your reviewing. But Donna can also be more assertive, so we saw that with the suggestions. So Donna can check hundreds of things, mainly in detailed errors, but let me give you a few examples. So we have, let's see, money. We had an amount, everywhere in the document we wrote convenience amount and then literal amount, and here we forgot to do that. So we probably want to add it. She can find exactly the problem I showed before. The literal and the convenience amounts don't match. Let's see, what else do we have that's interesting enough? Oh yeah, terms that haven't been undefined. So in this case, over here, we're referring to the term services, and we haven't defined it. Probably good to define it. And the nice thing is, I can keep Donna open to the side, and as I make changes, Donna will straight away update. And so, with that little indication to the side, it really helps me effectively make sure that my contract is always, ready to send out, so that it doesn't come to that last minute kind of review. That's all I'm going to show for the demo now. If you want to try it out, go to our website, and we'll schedule a call with you to go through in more detail if you're interested, of course. I wouldn't force you. But yeah, so that's what we do. And why do we do this? I mean, obviously our ambition isn't to stay just a word add-in, but what we're really excited about is that, contracts, they're written in this human language. And what we see is that although it's human language, there's a lot of structure in it. It's almost, I'm a software developer, it's almost like it's a programming language. So what we're trying to do is if we can make an AI system that can translate from this human language to this more programming language, then we can build all these sorts of tools that developers have for ages. And then we can really help you succeed in the future. So I'll skip all this. It's karaoke and drinks time. Or questions.
Yeah. And you were the last pitch. There's still one speaker. But yes, questions, please. No. Well, there.
Yes, so it's something coming up. I won't give too many details yet, because that's exciting. No, but definitely in the knowledge management space, applying this to spotting patterns in contracts. You can probably see people nodding. You can probably spot where we're going here. In that, if you have a contract and you can see, oh, these terms are always defined in these jurisdictions. And there's a lot of assistive information that we can give as you're reading an agreement, because not all the agreements that you're drafting you wrote the first instance of. Sometimes it's from the other party. So it might be interesting to see, okay, this agreement that the other party wrote, we would typically add a clause like this into it, or we would phrase it like this, and these are the contexts. So that's what's coming up. But for now, it's very simple. You can start using this in 5 minutes and be a lawyer on steroids.
Great. I would love to be that. Thank you. Any other questions? No. So, thank you for each and every startup. Now, everything good must come to an end. Just before we leave, I would like to give the mic to my colleague to give us the closing remarks. So please welcome on stage Pilvi Alopeus, the CEO of the Legal Design Summit and one of our members of the organizing crew. So, welcome.
Cheers, everyone. And sorry I kicked my shoes off because, well, it's a startup event, who cares? And heels are horrible to wear. I usually have like tennis shoes. Well, anyway, first of all, thank you, Maria, and thank you for being our guide to the legal tech world tonight. You've done amazing work. Maria is also the design wizard behind the branding of everything you've seen here and throughout the project this year. So that's pretty amazing. I think we should give a round of applause for her. Well, thank you. Well, we're here. Half of you gone already. Well, that happens. This is the first time these 4 organizations actually work together. They have been doing their own things and sometimes together some things, but this is the first time we all came together. And 6 months ago, we were sitting at Fatser Café in Kluvi, and we were thinking about having a small gathering, about 30 to 50 people. Well, we ended up with 310 tickets sold. Sold, they're free, but anyway. That's pretty humbling. That exceeds everything that we could even imagine. But working together and coming together to these kind of forums where we can have these kind of honest discussions, it's the most important thing that we can do. This is what the organizations are for, and you're all welcome to join us. All the hype, unicorns, pineapples, whatever you've seen here today, it's fun. It's part of the tech community, it's part of the startup community, and it's a great way to irritate you enough, to get your attention, to get you here, to focus on the issues that really matter, the problems behind the hype. We have to look beyond it. There are a lot of profound problems that could use a little help from tech and design, not only to make the world a better place, as pretty much all the startups want to do, but also to help the legal world to jump to the 21st century and beyond. There are a few thanks we need to give. First of all the startups and all the speakers who've been here today. You guys are the true heroes. Thank you so much. Next, I must thank Edita. They have been live streaming this event. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much. And next, I need to thank Slush for supporting us and Vitamin Well for hydrating us. I hope you all got your waters. And then, I need to thank our team. Maria, Anna, Hanna, Kiki, Christian, Lisa, whoever was volunteering to do even the smallest bit. Thank you. And we really need to thank our loved ones and our families because they really supported us and didn't lose their minds when we were working through the midnight hours. Come to bed now. Everyone heard it 100 times. Well, I don't want to miss anyone well. And I need to thank all of you guys. And I'll tell you why. The legal tech scene and the legal design scene is just forming. No one knows what it is. No one knows where it's going, what it's going to be. And each and every one of you is contributing by just showing up, being curious, and asking questions. And I know it's cheesy, and you can call me a little bit Americana, but I always have believed that decisions are made by those who actually show up. So on behalf of our whole team and all of our 4 organizations, I would like to thank you guys for showing up today, being curious, asking tough questions that we need to do. Thank you. We bow to you.
Thank you. I totally agree with Pilvi, and also I have to thank her. She's an amazing future lawyer, expertise in IA and data protection, and she's been really, really passionate driving these things. So without her, we wouldn't be here. So another round of applause for her. But yes, so tonight, after this lively discussion, we can continue at the Belge bar, which is right around the block. I think many of you who are going maybe know the road, so find someone who knows the road or then just Google it. But let's continue the discussion there. So thank you everyone for participating.